everyone. It's really pleasure to be with all of you, and I would be very happy to share what I have been doing. But before I do that, thanks to the SPADE, the Alumni Association, as well as Institution of Engineers for inviting me and being part here. I will try to, I will not try to, I will definitely finish my talking in 20 minutes. So let me share my screen. Let me know once you see this. All right. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay. It's to have completely a new look at the energy and the sustainability. And unfortunately, even after so much of development of human race, we have come to a point that we have to think about once again what we are doing. So energy and sustainability are very important dimensions of our social life, our economic life, and therefore we should look at it. What I'm going to do is quickly look at the world that we live in, why energy is such an important parameter in our life and how it is affecting the climate change. And eventually I will try to put forward a solution that can help us in sustainable living. So let me begin with this particular image. Many times in our day-to-day life, we forget how do we exist in this entire universe. So this is a picture of universe where there are millions of galaxies, and each of these dots is a galaxy. And only one galaxy among the millions galaxies ours, we call it Milky Way.
Which problem?
And within the Milky Way, and only one star is ours. We call it Sun. And Sun is a very tiny star somewhere below down, not in the center of this image. And around the star Sun, there are many planets that are evolving, and only one little tiny planet is ours, we call it Earth. Look at how tiny the Earth is as compared to the Sun. It's 109 times smaller than the Sun. And around the Earth also, there's a very thin blue layer that you see where human life is possible. So now you can see that among the millions and billions of stars and planets around in the universe, in the infinity of universe, there is only a small place where human life can survive. And if it is such a rare space, we should all be really taking care of it, protecting it, nurturing it, doing something about it. Unfortunately not. We are all, kind of destroying the very same nature which nurtures our life. So within this beautiful thin blue layer, there used to be nice clean waters. In the river, there used to be very dense forest. There used to be clean air. There used to be nice flora and fauna, which is not there anymore. I mean, our rivers are polluted, air is polluted, jungles have actually reduced in terms of size, and soil is degraded. So all the natural elements that supports our life is actually declining, and declining fast. And why is this happening? Why is this happening? Because we learned after industrialization how to use energy. Excuse me, somebody's microphone is on. If you can put it on mute, come in the background. So why it is happening? Because we have learned how to use energy, since we industrialize. From 1850s, we learned how to use coal, oil, gas, everything. And rightly so, because it has become a driver of our life, And we do not realize how much energy we are consuming in a simple activity as brushing your teeth. You will not realize a lot of energy we are consuming, Somebody has to manufacture the toothpaste, that requires energy. Somebody has to pack it, somebody has to transport it, somebody has to sell it, and somebody has to go and buy it, Each and every activity requires energy. Similarly, toothbrush, it has to go through all journey, the wash machine, the mirror, the pipes, overhead tanks, everything requires energy in one form or other before we could actually do a simple activity as brushing our teeth. Imagine what we do in 24 hours time, while sleeping, while awake, while working, we actually use a lot of energy.
Hello.
And rightly so, because energy affects everything around us. You increase your energy consumption, poverty will reduce. Increase your energy consumption, economy will improve, consumption, health will become. So these sustainable development goals, there are 17 of them. Each of these goal is associated with the center, as you can see, the sustainable development goal number 7, which is the goal for energy, that we should supply reliable, modern, sustainable, affordable energy to everyone on the planet. Everyone. It has to be affordable, it has to be sustainable, it has to be modern. And because it connects everything in our life, that's why it is important. So great, we should actually require more and more energy. But the goal number 13, which is the climate change, is in exact opposite of goal number 7. They are in different directions. So one side, we want to increase our energy consumption, we want to increase energy access. On the other side, every time we use coal, oil, petrol, diesel, LPG, CNG, kerosene, any of the carbon fuel, anytime we use, it results in a carbon dioxide emission. And carbon dioxide gas is a greenhouse gas. It results in a global warming. So therefore, increase in energy consumption is resulting in a climate change, but we need increase in energy consumption. So these are the two opposite directions, in which the requirements are, and very contradictory nature of this requirement. And how can we solve this? And I keep saying that anybody who solves this would require can actually earn not one Nobel Prize, but several Nobel Prizes. Such a major problem in the planet today. And look at why it is the problem, because the carbon dioxide concentration in the atmosphere since last 150 years, particularly last 50 years, look at how fast it is growing. This is a graph for last 1000 years, but particularly in last 50 years, the carbon dioxide concentration is exponentially almost. That is a problem in the world. And as I said, carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas, and therefore the world has become warmer by about 1 degree centigrade already. And scientists all over the world are saying, look, we need to limit this global warming to 1.5 degrees centigrade. And for that, what we need to do? We need to cut down on carbon dioxide emission as much as 45% by 2030. Now, this 45% was comparison of the level of 2015, and we have not been able to control CO2 rather than CO2 concentration increasing. So as per today's norm, we must cut down on our CO2 emission by 60% in the next 10 years. Can you believe it? In next 10 years, you must reduce your coal consumption by 60%, electricity consumption by 60%, petrol, diesel consumption by 60%, LPG consumption by 60%. Can you really imagine a future like that? And if not, what will happen? If not, what will happen? The global warming will continue to happen, and it will go beyond 1.5 degrees centigrade. Why 1.5 degrees is such an important number? Because beyond 1.5 to 2 degree band, the changes in the climate irreversible. You will not be able to no matter what you do. Even after this 1.5 degree, even all of us become sand. We stop using all kind of carbon immediately. Will the global warming stop? Answer is no. It will continue to happen, because once the CO2 is emitted and remains in the atmosphere, it will be there for 20 to 50 to 200 years. So there used to be a time when people used to say, okay, we have up to 2040 to limit to 1.5 degrees centigrade. Then the new report came, it said, no, not 2040, we have time up to 2030 to limit to 1.5 degrees centigrade. But last month in July, there was a report from WMO, the World Meteorological Organization. It says there is a 20% chance that in one of the year in the next 5 years will be 1.5 degrees centigrade warming. Within the next 5 years, 20% chance, can you believe it? That we are so much close to the disaster, so much close to the disaster. And unfortunately, 99% people do not even realize what is happening. And so basically, rather than decreasing, the heat is on, the CO2 levels are increasing. and humans are really not learning. Not only that, there is a concept of Earth Overshoot Day, that how many days, whatever resources Earth is generating in 1 year, how many days it takes to consume those resources. Ideally, when we are in a balance, whatever resources Earth generates in 1 year, we should consume in 1 year. So Earth Overshoot Day should come on December 31st. But rather than that, look at this graph here. In 1977, from that time onwards, Earth Overshoot Day is coming earlier and earlier. Last year in 2019, the Earth Overshoot Day came on July 29th, which means that from July 30th till December 31st, whatever resources we used, it was not ours. We have taken it from somewhere else. We have stolen it from some stealing, right? Borrow 100 rupees from someone and give it back. I say I have borrowed the money, right? But if I borrow 100 rupees and never give it back, then I have stolen it. I have done something wrong, isn't it? We have learned how to take water from the underground, but we have not learned how to recharge. And therefore the water table is going down. We have learned how to cut the forest and fulfill our road requirement, but we have not learned how to plant it. Therefore the forest cover is going down. We have learned how to give our pollutants to the rivers and the ponds, but we have not learned how to clean it. Therefore rivers are polluted. We have learned how to put a lot of fertilizer, but not actually save the soil. So everything we are kind of stealing, grabbing from the very same nature that is our life. So as a result of all these human activities that we have been doing, look at the world we are living in right now. This is the image of Australian forest fire last year. Some 10 million hectares of forest got burned, 1 billion animals got killed. This is on the opposite side. In the water got flooded like that, not the rains. The sea water came in. Look at the Europe as a continent, which is a cold continent. There is a snowfall and beautiful scenario that we see. Last year in the heat wave, the temperature went to 45.8 degrees centigrade. Can you believe it? 45.8. On the other hand, the Middle East, which is a warm desert, it's a desert, but there was a snowfall in the desert. Can you believe it? Look at how contradictory and different opposite events are taking place in the world. Isn't it terrible? And who is responsible for this? Humans. This is our Delhi, and how the capital city was affected by the poor air quality for a long time. And this all happens because we are using fossil fuel. This is the image of a traffic jam, in Delhi, Gurgaon. Can you imagine? Look at the traffic jam, kilometers and kilometers of pool, of sea of the car that is there. So therefore, I believe that we humans have become like a parrot. The picture parrot to talk about, say hey Ram. The parrot will keep talking hey Ram, hey Ram, hey Ram, but he will never understand. Sustainability, when you understood what sustainability is all about, isn't it? So it's very simple. Whenever consumption is equal to generation, then we are sustainable. Whenever your monthly expenses is equal to your monthly income, then we are sustainable. Are we doing that? Definitely not. That's why water table is going down, forest cover is going down, rivers are getting polluted, which means that we have not really understood sustainability or not actually living the sustainable way. And therefore I would like to bring Gandhiji's here, his quote. He said, I suggest that we are thieves in a way. हम सब लोग एक तरह से चोर हैं. Why? Because if I'm taking anything that I do not need for my immediate need, I am thieving it from somebody else. इमीडिएट जरूरत की से ज़्यादा यदि मैं अपने पास रख रहा हूँ तो मैं कहीं से चोरी कर रहा हूँ, किसी से चोरी कर रहा हूँ. एंड देयर इज ओनली इनफ इन द नेचर फॉर एवरीबॉडी इज नीड. और चूंकि हम अपना जरूरत से ज़्यादा इकट्ठा करके रखते हैं, दैट इज व्हाई देयर इज अ पॉपुलिज्म, देयर इज अ गरीबी इन द वर्ल्ड, दैट इज व्हाई देयर इज अ भूखमरी इन द वर्ल्ड. And as long as we keep doing it, there will always be inequality. That's what Gandhi said way back in 1933. He also famously said, Earth provides enough to satisfy every man's need. Greed, absolutely no limit. We can only satisfy our needs. And Gandhiji was not a scientist like Newton and Einstein, so that he can formulate the laws and tell that no, you cannot violate this law. And therefore, what I have done, because I have kind of formulated this whole thing in the law of sustainability. Why? Because everything in the planet is finite. The air is finite, the size of the planet, earth is finite, the land is finite, soil is finite, forest is finite. Therefore, all our consumption should be finite, isn't it? But today, we do not do that. If I'm poor, I will take bath using the bucket of water. If I'm little bit more money, I will put shower in my bathroom. If I have little bit more money, I will put bathtub in bathroom. If I have little bit more money, I will put, swimming pool in my house, isn't it? So this concept of limiting consumption is absolutely not there, and our modern science and economies never taught us. Our leaders have never taught us. Our professors have never taught us, look guys, we cannot consume more than a certain limit. And therefore the first fundamental law, I'm calling it law of sustainability, is very clear. In an ecosystem of finite resource, there can only finite, cannot violate this law. If you are going to violate this law, we are all going to suffer. And in 2019, when economy was going down, India has come out with an article. It says that look, automobile sales is not increasing, so we are in trouble, we are in crisis, and we need to do something. And every time economy slows down, automobile sales slows down, and we rush to solve the problem. How? By reducing the interest rate amount. So therefore, I think that the world is in a complete mess today. That what is in crisis, it doesn't realize. Having a car not sold is a crisis, or having a car sold is a crisis. According to the modern economies, having a car not sold is a crisis. But according to the sustainability, long-term life on the planet, having a car sold itself is a crisis, isn't it? I think we need to really fix this understanding what is in the problem today. And therefore Gandhiji said very clearly in 1934, he said, I would categorically state my conviction that the mania of mass production is responsible for the world crisis. This whole idea that we should have bigger long-term lives on the planet, consume more, sell more, make economy stronger, itself is a crisis. This is a madness of the world that we are living today. But Gandhiji also gave a solution. He said, no, when the production and consumption both become localized, the temptation to speed up the production indefinitely at any price disappears. So local production and the local consumption. And when we do this, our economy will not go up and down. And that is what his idea was, Gran Swaraj. And that is such a powerful idea that today in the country, if we accept and adopt that idea, there are wonderful development that we can do, which is equitable, which is sustainable. So the Gandhian ideal, second ideal was, he said, not mass production, but production by masses is required. Not the mass production by masses is required. Why? Because every time you do the mass production, it results in unequal distribution. Only the person owning the company, the shareholders, gets a benefit. Everybody else feels the loss. And therefore, I say that because people are living everywhere in the planet and the energy resources are available everywhere on the planet, can we have the decentralized generation? So therefore, second law of sustainability I call, in an ecosystem of finite resources, there can only be distributed production. If you want equality in the world, if you want sustainability in the world, there can only be distributed production. So is it really possible to do the same thing in energy? Can we all generate and fulfill our local area? I have been working in this field for a long time, about 20 years now, and we have done a very big project called Solar Urja through localization for sustainability. So what we do is, we locally train people to assemble, repair, maintain everything about solar energy so that they can become self-sufficient. And so we have mainly worked with the women, about 10,000 women we have worked. We have given them training whether to test battery is working or not working, circuit is working or not working, panel is working or not working. Then we have given them training to do the soldering of all this circuit together and then assemble the solar lamp. And not only assemble, go and sell the solar lamp. So they were also the marketing people. Then repair the solar lamp. And once you do all this thing, go to the next level and start learning how to do the entire house on solar electrification. So do that. That also we have done. Not only that, we have trained further to set up their own module manufacturing plant, so that you can produce locally, consume locally. And this is one image of a plant in
very good for
Rajasthan
this
Music,
thing.
not meant for
when an
टेक्नोलॉजिकली कुछ ये हो रहा है
executive office plant is in Rukmani Devi,
ये
is
वाला
only 8
स्पीकर है ना
So these are wonderful examples of how we can localize the solution. And in this project, which was a very big project, we have reached to 8.5 million families in many states, around 10 states in India. And we have trained more than 10,000 women and men. We have opened many assembly centers, repair centers, and right now there are solar marts. More than 1,000 solar shops are running in the country, all run by women without using any subsidy, all by the market mechanism. So this has been a great example of how we can localize. But today, when the climate is changing faster than you can think, what could be the way forward in this world? And I believe that the way forward could be Energy Swaraj. What is Energy Swaraj? A scenario where locals generate and consume their own energy needs using local renewable energy sources. So you and I can fulfill all our energy needs locally, then it will be great. And is the technology available? Is economically viable? Is it environmentally friendly? Is it institutionally doable? All these are the questions that normally comes in my mind. Answer is yes to everything. I go through the details, but yes, today. So last year when we took part in IEEE competition of empowering billion lives, it was a global competition, and after beating several rounds, we won the global award of $100,000. Using that money, I have founded the Energy Swaraj Foundation with the motto of energy by locals, for locals, which we are actually going around and trying to establish. So with this, I would also say that even if it is solar energy, we should avoid energy first, use of energy, and then minimize, and as a last option, we should generate. Because even solar energy is not without any carbon footprint. So we should avoid use of energy as much as possible. Then only we should generate at the last option. And if we attain Energy Swaraj in the world, I believe the benefits are many. The local people will get skilled, the local livelihood get generated, the local economy will become stronger, we become energy independent, there will be confidence in the technology, there will be discipline in the energy, we will not have to import energy from outside, we will not risk the security of the country, the sovereignty of the country, we will be sustainable, and above all, the climate change can be stopped. So I believe that being locally self-sufficient, Gandhian idea, is a powerful model that any country can adopt in the world today and be sustainable. So therefore, what we say is that small changes are not going to be enough to mitigate the climate change. We need to make a drastic and immediate change. So what is required? We say surrender electricity connection. All of us should just give away our electricity connection, take a pride on being and generate your own energy needs from your own rooftop. I also believe that the governments all over the world are not doing enough or not capable to do enough because of their other commitment to make such a drastic change. And we require some kind of a public movement where people at large come and decide that, look, only for the benefit of my own children and grandchildren, I want to leave a sustainable world behind them. Not a scary world which is affected by the viruses and typhoons and floods and droughts, not that kind of world. And therefore we require some kind of public movement. Last year I went around the Gandhi Global Solar Yatra. I went around the world to promote this idea. 30 countries I have visited. About 9.25 lakh students I have trained on Gandhi Jayanti to make their own solar lamp. And all of them have taken a pledge of non-violence to environment. And because there is no planet B, that's only planet A in the world, and now I have taken a leave from my take up what is called Energy Swaraj Yatra. This yatra will be very long, about 11 years. I will be living in this bus, which will be also demonstrating the technology, giving training, and I will living facilities will be there inside the bus. I will keep going around the country several times, and I hope to come sometime to your place as well. This Gandhi Jayanti on 2nd October, we are organizing another seminar called Role of Youth in Attaining Atmanirbhar Bharat in Energy. All of you can actually join and participate. So with that, thank you very much for listening to me. and I am really glad that I could share my idea with you, and I will be very happy to answer if there are any questions. Thank you very much.